Okay, so what I wanted to talk about today was, and Meredith, you might have heard us talk about this before. Amber, I'm not sure you have. Um, Acknowledge and ask. It's about having conversations with your leads and your clients that show that you're actively listening to them by basically repeating part of what they're saying back to you, to really give clear evidence that you're understanding and you're listening and taking in what they're giving you. It also, by doing that, also gives you a chance to think about what are we talking about and what's a good question that I can ask back to continue to move the conversation on. So, an example was, and then we can kind of role play it a little bit or script it out a little bit, would be, say you're talking to a client and they say, well, I'm just looking, I'm not ready. And a good way to script that, to overcome that objection, would be to acknowledge what they said and then use it as a way to find out more about their specific situation. So lead says, I'm just looking, I'm not ready. Okay, I understand you're just looking and you're not ready. What is it that you're not ready to do? Or what is it that you need to happen before you are ready? Help me understand what's going on there. It's about, acknowledging, very clearly what they said and using it to move the conversation forward with another question. It also helps you overcome objections that are non-starters that end the conversation. Because especially as new agents, you haven't had as much experience with something like that. You might say, okay, well, they're not ready. Give me a call when you're ready, bye. When in actuality, they might not be ready because they don't understand the process. They've never really had the chance or taken the opportunity or even had thought about speaking with a lender to know kind of what it is or what they need to do. It could be a million different things, but you really need to have that conversation with them to figure out what exactly is going on so you can provide some value and help them. Any thoughts on that? Questions? How are you using that currently? Are you using that currently, or some form of it that maybe you didn't even realize that you were?
I use it. I repeat back a lot just to confirm, because it helps me remember what they're asking of me.
Yep.
But it's what I had a call this morning, and this is where I'm having an issue, is directing them in the next steps. Like somebody, they want to move here in the next 3 to 6 months. They have a house to sell, but they're wanting new construction. So I've not dealt with new construction. All I know to say is, well, first things first, I would think you need to get your house on the market first. But then they said, they want to come down and take a look at some spec homes and whatnot. And I don't know, it's just, I feel like I need some work on that.
Well, we could definitely talk about that situation specifically. A good question, a good acknowledge and ask question in that situation might be, okay, so I understand you're planning to sell your home and move down here and you're interested primarily in new construction. Am I understanding that right? And, they may say yes. Okay, so a couple of questions just to make sure that I'm helping you move things in the right direction and you feel prepared. Have you spoken with a lender? Do you need to sell your home first to use funds from that to purchase your next home? Also, have you connected with an agent that you're planning on helping you sell your home up there? Do you have an idea of how long homes similar to yours are taking to sell in this market or to get under contract and then close? And then another question might be, or another statement might be to acknowledge is, if you're interested in new construction can be handled a couple of different ways. So it's ultimately going to depend on which builder you decide to go with and what stage the home is in. Nowadays, a lot of homes aren't being built as spec. Everything is being sold, or most things are being sold pre-construction, right? So if you find a builder in a neighborhood you're interested in, we'd want to talk to them about what their process is, what their deposit situation is like, what their build out time is like, if they'll accept an offer from someone who is contingent to sell, if you are contingent to sell. So you see, there's a lot of ways that that conversation could go, but it gives you a lot of questions, a lot of things to acknowledge and then ask questions, which gives you the opportunity to provide value, to them, to show them, hey, you probably don't realize all these things. I'm showing you all these different scenarios that could play out. And by providing that value, why wouldn't they want to work with you? Because you probably just opened their eyes to so many different things. They're like, we hadn't even thought of any of that.
And I think a big question I'm missing is just, have you spoken with a lender? I mean, it just sounds so much better than I'm going to connect you with such and such, or just, have you spoken with a lender? And I'm just going to start asking that. And
Yeah, I mean, that you absolutely should. Have you spoken with someone? And when the answer is no, I've got the perfect person to talk to you. I'll connect you with our preferred lender so you can start exploring your options. They'll do a great job of helping you figure out the loan option that works best for you.
I had someone from that has signed agency yesterday ask me, when I connected them with our lender, did we get any kind of incentive or anything? And I said, oh, no, ma'am, we don't receive a incentive or a cutback. I said, we just prefer to work with these lenders. We've worked with them for years, and they just work a lot quicker. How do you handle that question?
You handled that perfectly. I was in the office when I heard you doing it, and you did really well. That is the perfect answer. No, you know what we get from it? We get knowing that we trust these people and we've experienced working with them before, and they know how they take care of our clients.
Right, as compared to the nightmare we had.
Right. And I can't tell you, because I can't count on both hands and toes, how many times we've had someone come to us with a lender that's not familiar with North Carolina, or that we're not familiar with. And then, we have serious closing delays. A lot of things happen. We recommend our preferred lender because we know what we're getting. Now, that doesn't mean hiccups aren't going to happen, but in general, they do an amazing job for our people. And this is too big of an important thing to work with, to work with a lender that neither one of us really knows.
Yeah, I kind of caveat it as like, I have a relationship with these people. I work with them and talk with them on a daily basis. So that relationship's already there. Whereas if you went with your own lender, I mean, I would certainly form a relationship with them, but it's just makes the process easier when I already know them, and, they tell me stuff straight up, and,
and it's going to be done, and it gets done. Yeah.
That you work with regularly.
Right. Those are all, that's the value you're providing. We have established relationships with these people already. And the reason we've done that is to help our clients, past, present, and future, make things happen on time. So, and then if they don't happen on time, well, that's when we have to slap our lenders, but that's another story. Generally speaking, they're pretty good.
When a lot of my knowledge and ask is about lender stuff, it's like, well, I've got it, my credit's not good, or I got to save, and then a lot of that can lead into getting them with a lender, because it's like, well, how do you know? You talk with my lender, he can give you some free advice on how to get your credit up, blah, 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 blah. And when they don't know, when they talk about saving and stuff, I usually try to get the buyer consult so I can kind of walk them through exactly, base almost dollar amounts that they need to save, so that they can even get a better understanding of where they are in the process.
Absolutely. And that's a huge value add. Hey, I've got somebody who can tell you exactly what you need to do to get where you're trying to be. And it's not going to cost you anything. All it takes is a little bit of time to get on the same page with them, so they can take a brief look at what you got going on, and then help you identify if there's something you need to do, what that is, how to go ahead and get it done and do it. And then above and beyond that, get you ready. If it's going to take some work, or if you're ready now, let's go do it. Because here's the thing, there's a reason that the next step after we connect is to talk to a lender, because we can't write the offer without the letter from the lender.
Right.
And it's so important, to set those expectations, so people understand what the process is and how it plays out. And for too many people, if you allow them much more than that inch of an intro meeting to see a house, to get on the same page and set expectations, you've got to be really strong about, okay, this is the next step. There's no reason for us to do anything beyond this step until it's done, because you're not going to be in a position to move forward. And it's, we shouldn't be in people's homes if we're not ready to make offers.
Right. Especially in this market.
Sure, exactly. So let's circle back around to this acknowledge and ask a little bit more. You guys, let's just spitball a couple of examples that maybe you've come across, or that maybe you hadn't come across, but you could see yourself coming across. And let's try that a little bit. And you guys can kind of do it with each other. So Amber, pretend that you're the agent. Meredith, you're the client.
Okay.
Amber, do just a little ring ring. Meredith, you answer. Amber, pretend it's a Boomtown lead coming in. You can throw, pretend you've seen them looking at a particular house or area or something, and just script it a little bit. And Meredith, give her the opportunity to put some things out there so she can do some acknowledge and ask it, and try and move the conversation down the line a little bit.
Okay.
Ring, ring.
Hello.
Hey, Meredith, this is Amber. I'm with the Oceanair Realty. How are you doing today?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm doing good. I noticed you've been on the website and you've favorited several properties, and I wanted to just check and see how your search is going. Is there any questions that you have on any of those properties?
What area are you in again?
I'm in the Hampstead area.
Okay. Oh yeah, I've just been kind of looking, and I don't know if I'm quite, ready to move too much forward between just, looking. I'm just kind of browsing.
Okay. Where are you located now?
I'm in New York.
New York. All right. Are you guys, what made you choose the Hampstead area? Are you familiar with it?
My cousin has had a beach house down there before, so I've been there a couple times and just like the area.
Okay. And will this be a vacation home for you?
Yeah, I'd like to get myself a beach house like she has.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'm just going to continue to send you properties that matched your search criteria when you first started. You want to stick with the 3-bedroom condo on the ocean there, oceanfront, or would you like to have a house near the water?
I don't really know. I don't know what I can afford, so I'm just kind of looking at everything right now.
All right. Well, have you spoken with a lender? That's a really important step in this process to get you ready to make a decision.
No, I haven't even really thought about how I'd pay for it or what.
Okay. Well, I'm going to recommend one of our preferred lenders, trusted providers, Ben Hawkins, and I know that he can help you just get you ready so you'll know what properties to begin looking for, and just be a step in the right direction, give you an idea to what to shoot for in the future here.
Okay. What type of down payment would I need?
That is going to be something that he can help you with. It's going to depend on the type of loan that you get. I don't know, are you guys military, or are you thinking about getting a conventional loan?
I'm not military, so I guess it would be conventional.
Okay. That's definitely going to be a lender question. That's not my area of expertise, so I really think it would be a great idea if you could talk with Ben.
Okay. And you're just gonna send me that info?
Yep. Right when we get off the phone here, I'm going to connect you to. You'll see an email And he'll also get your information as well, and he'll follow up with a phone call, and then we'll just go from there. If you plan to make a trip down in the future, I'll be glad to show you some properties, and or if it's a little bit too far of a drive in from New York, I'll be glad to set up some virtual tours for you.
Okay, yeah, I've got a lot of stuff to take care of up here, so I probably won't be coming down for a while.
Okay, sounds good. Well, you just follow up with Ben, and I'll be in touch with you and continue just to take a look at those properties. And if there's any questions you have on any of those, I'll be glad to send you any more information that you might need.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. You have a good afternoon.
All right, thoughts? Yeah, I agree. I think that you missed several opportunities to acknowledge and carry the conversation on. Amber, you did a great job of working through like LP Mammal, but especially like at the end where Meredith said, I've got several things to take care of. That's the type of thing that we're talking about.
My sister lives at the beach. Well, where's your sister lives at the beach? Where's your sister at?
I don't know if you guys can hear Brandon, but that too. She said, you know, my sister's got a place at the beach. Well, that's a good opportunity. I said, oh, well, tell me about that. You know, where is her house? Tell me what her house looks like. Are you looking for something similar to that? Is that too big, too small? You know, things like that. Try not to get so caught up in getting all the questions answered that you don't do this acknowledge and ask, because the acknowledge and ask piece is really what allows you, you know, to build a relationship with them and start to make it more personal, because you're really getting them to talk instead of answer questions. You know what I mean? I know we're asking questions, but we're asking questions about what they've told us. We're not asking the questions we necessarily want to get answered. But if you do the acknowledge and ask, you can get them in there, if that makes sense, if you get them talking. So make sure to take advantage of the stuff that they give you.
Okay.
Sometimes I struggle with when I mean, you know, they're trying to block you know, from really talking to them at all. And sometimes I feel that weird line between like coming off like I'm prying and then coming off like, you know, I'm just genuinely interested. Sometimes I don't know what type of, how y'all word questions, be like, well, tell me what, you know, what is it that has you not ready? Because I've also gotten it where I've like pried and then it turned them off even more.
And I mean, that can happen too. And it's also kind of knowing when not to keep like asking some questions. Do you want to do a little back and forth, Meredith, and I'll be the agent and you can throw some stuff at me and see how I handle it, like
Yeah,
kind of
sure.
a situation that you're talking about.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's try a little ring real quick then. I'll see if I'm any good at this. All right, ring.
Hello.
Hey, is this Meredith?
Yes, this is her. Who's this?
Hey, Meredith. This is Doug Yopham with the Oceaneer Realty in Raleigh. How are you today?
I'm doing all right.
Well, I wanted to let you know I'm calling because I just saw you registered on my website, and I always make it a priority to reach out to folks just to let them know I'm a real person and I'm here to help with their home search after you take the time to register on my website. I see that you're looking kind of in several places in Wake County. What really motivated you to sign up in the first place?
I'm just, you know, curious on real estate in North Carolina.
Curious as a current homeowner or somebody who's thinking about investment properties, or are you even in the area now?
Well, I live up in New York and, you know, you can probably guess, I don't really like it here. So I'm just kind of looking around at different states, you know, see where I might want to move one day.
So it sounds like you're thinking about getting out of New York, but you're exploring some other areas to maybe settle in.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Have you spent any time in North Carolina before? Do you have any family or friends here?
I vacationed in Wrightsville Beach a time or two.
Okay, great. Well, our team actually has an office at the coast as well. I'm in Raleigh, but if you decide to look at the coast, I can have another agent from my office help you as well. And then that way we've got you covered in both areas, regardless of which part of North Carolina you decide to settle in. Tell me a little bit about the type of property you think you'd be interested in. when you move here? Would it be similar to where you are now?
I don't really know. I mean, I'd like something bigger.
Okay, so what does bigger mean to you? Tell me about your current home.
Let's see. I mean, I've got 5 bedrooms now. So I mean, 6 would be better because if I moved there, I feel like I'd have people come visit me.
Oh, well, tell me about your family. Are they local there in New York, but not planning to follow you, or are they spread out?
Well, my mom's in Arizona, so I'd like her to come live with us if I moved somewhere nicer.
So you said us. Who else is in your home with you? Do you have children?
Yeah, I have 2, and then my husband.
Oh, okay, fantastic. That's great. So where do you think you'd be more interested in? Kind of the Raleigh area or down by the coast, or should we just start exploring both areas?
I don't want to limit it.
Okay, well, that's fine. Well, I can get you set up with an initial search to kind of begin exploring all of your options. What would you say that your budget is?
I don't know. I mean, I think I'd sell this house in New York, so, and it's 300, so I don't know.
Well, it sounds like you put some thought into this. Let me ask you this. If you do have to sell before you buy your next home in North Carolina, who's going to help you sell your home there? Do you have someone in mind?
Well, there's the lady that sold us this house.
Would she probably be your first call?
I guess so, yeah. Or I
It's-
think
Go
I
ahead.
think
I'm
my
sorry.
cousin knows somebody.
Okay. Well, it's good to be able to trust people that you know to recommend someone. We could help you find someone as well. We've got a network that we're tapped into that we help all over the country, our clients who are moving. So if we get to that point, you let me know. Let me help you understand why I'm asking. If you need to sell, things move relatively quickly in the North Carolina market right now, which you've probably noticed if you spent some time looking at homes. If you need to sell before you buy, it would be good for you to speak with a professional who understands the market there. So we've got a good idea how long it's going to take to get your home ready to list and a good idea of how long we should expect it to get under contract and then close. That way we can coordinate your search timeline for down here. Because realistically, nothing that's on the market that you're looking at is going to be on the market very long. And I don't want you to spend a whole lot of time exploring homes here other than trying to figure out an area you want to be in and then fall in love with a home that's just not going to be a realistic option because of timeline.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. What do you think of the Durham area?
Well, one of our agents, actually my brother on the team, he lives in Durham. There are great areas everywhere. It really just comes down to what it is you're looking for that's going to make you and your family happy. What is it other than just New York in general that you're looking for a change from, since you mentioned that earlier?
Well, I like the nicer weather, and I'm just sick of, the taxes up here.
Well, the good thing about our tax rate in North Carolina is you're probably going to be paying somewhere between 0.75 and maybe 1.25 for property taxes. So that should be significantly less than you're paying there, which is good. And also, the cost of living tends to be a little bit better here. So hopefully your dollar will go a lot further purchasing your next home. Let me ask you this question, since we haven't talked about it. You did mention that you needed to sell. Have you spoken with a lender to get an idea of what your budget would be and kind of what your payments would look like, down payment, et cetera?
No, I don't want to talk to a lender yet because I don't want my credit pulled.
Okay, well, I can understand that. A lot of people will say that when we first discuss lenders. One thing to remember is you can definitely talk to a lender and get an idea of where you stand and a ballpark of what your figures will look like without them pulling your credit. They don't have to pull your credit at this point to kind of begin to explore loan options and just understand where you are with things. And our lender can hold off on doing that, but still give you a good idea of where things are, just so you feel more comfortable about your numbers, et cetera.
Yeah, that would be good because I don't want my credit pulled.
Sure. Well, I can do an email intro to our lender, Morgan, who is right here in Raleigh, but she also works at the coast. And you can get connected with her and begin to have a conversation. And I'll make it very clear when I do the introduction email that you're not at the point where you're ready to have your credit pulled, but you would like to have a conversation to begin doing some exploratory work on options and figures, et cetera. How's that sound?
That sounds okay.
What other questions do you have for me before I do that?
I don't think I have anything else.
Okay, so let's talk about next steps then. You mentioned reaching out to maybe a couple of agents that you know up there, or you've got some sources to connect you with agents to start figuring out your timeline. I would definitely recommend that as soon as you can, just so you can start to backdate how long it's going to take you to get under contract and sold. That gives us a good idea of when we would start wanting to look here. At the same time, I'll set up a search based on the parameters we've discussed and start getting some options in front of you at the coast and in the triangle. And then I'll also do that email intro with Morgan so you guys can start your conversation and you can start to explore your loan options. Any questions about any of that?
No.
Okay, great. Well, keep an eye on your email for those. I'll shoot you a quick text at this number to make sure that you've gotten them after I sent them, because it looks like you've got a Gmail address and sometimes those go to spam. So I'll just do that really quickly. And today is Tuesday. I'll plan to give you a call Friday afternoon and just see what progress you've made and what other questions you've had. Any questions about that or anything else I can do for you?
No.
Great. Well, this is my direct number. Feel free to call or text me anytime. Save it to your cell phone, and I'll talk to you later this week.
Okay.
Thanks, Meredith.
Thank you. Well,
That
that
was a
was
long
pretty good.
conversation, but I mean, it was good. I think we covered a lot of ground, and you were, not everybody is going to be that open, obviously, right? And have that much of a conversation. So hopefully that was a good idea. Any feedback on that, thoughts on that? Did we cover the things that you were thinking about, Meredith?
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't be very beneficial, but like sometimes I just get like, I'm not ready. And then they're like, I ask a question and they'll be like, well, it's personal. And then
Okay.
like,
Well, I mean, and that's fair to do too. Hey, and I would handle something like this. I'm not ready. Okay. So I understand you're not ready. Now, what is it that you really need to happen to be ready? Just so I understand where you are time wise and if there's anything I can do to help you. Oh, well, it's personal. I appreciate you sharing that. I'm not here to get into your business. I'm only here to help when you are ready. I don't want to, get involved in too much of your personal stuff. I just want you to know that I'm here to help with your search and anything's related to your search. You were looking at XYZ properties. I would just continue to have the conversation about that, make sure the search is set up, ready. And then I would just say, when is a good time for me to follow up with you? Because I just want to make sure that or actually I might do this. I wouldn't even ask that. I would say, let's just focus on making sure your search parameters are good right now, so you can just continue to explore the area. Okay. And I'll check back with you in about a week just to get your thoughts, to make sure that the homes I'm sending are the type of homes that you would want when the time comes.
yeah.
And then maybe on that next call, the subsequent call, when you finally connect with them again, I would be like, last time we talked, you mentioned you've got some personal stuff that you need to get taken care of before you're really ready to move forward. What kind of timeline do you think you have for that? Just so I can make my note and, follow up with you accordingly.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be reaching out if you're not ready, but at the same time, I want to stay in touch with you so I'm able to help you.
Yeah, that's basically what I do, is if they start being closed off on like more financial or timeline, then I'll just focus on the criteria. And then eventually you got to get a timeline out of them, because if anything, I'll be like, let me be on the same page with you. I don't want to be bugging you more than I need to.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That kind of just upfront transparency. Look, I don't want to be reaching out to you if you're not ready to talk to me. When should I follow up? When do you think you'll be ready?
I tell people when they start giving me pushback, because the reality, can they hear me?
Can y'all hear Brandon okay?
Yeah.
You're not going to convert every lead.
That's
Right.
okay.
That's fine. Not every lead is going to be like, okay, yeah, let's fucking do this thing. They're not all. So I think it's a judgment call on when to abort the conversation, right? If I start getting pushback from somebody or something like that, I just say straight up, hey, listen, I get it. I do not want to be an annoyance. I want to be a resource for you when you're ready. When's a better time for me to call you back? Or when do you think like this process is going to be more realistic for you to get started on? Okay, thank you. Between now and then, please keep an eye out on my emails. I want to make sure the home search that I have you set up for is to your liking. And I'll check back in with you in a week to see if you're liking those homes or if I need to alter it. We can speak more at that time. Okay. And then just let it go and move on to the next phone call.
Yeah.
Like when I call somebody, and I almost did it when we did our ring there, and you were like, who is this? I will often say, hey, this is Doug with the Oceanair Realty. I know you weren't sitting waiting for me to call, but I noticed that you register on my website, and I always call as soon as people register because I want you to know I'm a real person and I do this full time and I'm here to help you. So tell me what motivated you to register on my website. And some people will be pissed and they'll be like, well, I had to sign up to look at the pictures. I get that. We do that so we can connect with people because, again, we take this really seriously. We're all full-time real estate agents on our team. So tell me what motivated you to do your search. Or, if people are busy, just be like, well, hey, the last thing I want to do is call people who aren't interested in talking to me. So you've got my information. If you don't want to talk right now, let me know when a better time to talk would be, or, just reach out to me when you're ready, something like that. In the meantime, I'll set up a search based on the homes you were looking at. I'd love to get some feedback on them. I think it's okay to meet people where they are when you can tell that they're not interested or don't want to talk, and don't try to convert them. You'll have a better chance of converting them by not trying to convert them when you can tell that they're not up for it, right? And just, head them off at the pass. Hey, look, it sounds like now's not the best time. When would be a better time? Never. Okay, well, feel free to use the website. And if I can ever help you, reach out at any time. I'm here and I'd love to do that when you're ready. Something like that. It's okay, because I'd rather get a no in that first conversation than feel like, okay, well, I'm going through the process, even though I know I'm going to get a no at some point.
To Doug's point, the first time you call these people, or the second or third, if you can tell you're not getting anywhere with them, don't waste your time continuing to call them every week when it's clear that they're not ready or interested in engaging with you. Use that time on other parts of your business or prospect to other people. That doesn't mean you have to put them in trash. You make it to do to call back in 6 weeks. But based on how they're reacting to you, let that be your gauge as to how often you need to try to reach out and court them, and be realistic. If they're an asshole, maybe I don't want to work with you if you're going to be an asshole every time I call,
Yeah.
Or, sometimes like when I call back, great example. Okay, I'll check back in with you in 6 weeks. Hey, I see you're on my website every single day, so I assume you're serious about this thing. Is that the case? Well, I'm not really. Well, then why are you looking up properties every day? That doesn't make sense. Don't be afraid to disarm people and try to use some humor to get somewhere with them. Because at the end of the day, unless you got them in the car and they're under agency looking at houses, you don't have them anyway. So if you lose them, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
And as a new agent, that's tough, because I remember when I was a new agent and I wanted to convert every single lead that came over. But eventually, and that's the point of this conversation, is to help you get to that point sooner, you realize you're taking time away from people you can help by focusing too much on trying to convert people you already know you're not going to be able to. So use humor, be straight to the point, have some fun with it, acknowledge that you can tell that they don't want to talk to you, and have some fun with it and do the best, and then move on.
Yeah, I think the only thing
Like,
is when you get those calls where like you called them back in a month or two, and then they've done something without you, then you're like, oh, like, why'd you lie to me?
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, Meredith, we all have that happen. I've had that happen last quarter. I had two people that, their finances were, I didn't think their finances were good enough, quite frankly. And I didn't, I'd call them and they'd say, my score is 660. Okay, you're almost there. And then I called them the next time and they're back at 660 still. And, me personally, I'm like, I don't think you're doing what you need to get there. I didn't say that, of course, but that made me not call them as often, right? And so that's my fault, but those are going to be few and far in between, as opposed to the ones where it's obvious they're not doing what they need to do, or they're unrealistic about the situation. If you give someone the information, hey, they know they have to sell their house before they can buy here. Well, I don't want to sell my place until I have somewhere I can go. At a certain point, you can only tell them so many times, it ain't like that here right now. How many times you can have that conversation?
Yeah.
You're spinning your wheels, helping someone who knows you've told them and they're not going to do it. So if they're able to connect that with someone else, good for everybody else involved. There's enough business for all of us.
and I think it's really important that you are, firm but polite about some things, especially after you've made the process really clear to people and they're absolutely dead set against it. We're not the right people to help everybody. And that's not necessarily on us. It can be on them, right? So acknowledge it and move on. Focus your time and efforts on people that are engaged and want to talk to you.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
Holly, thanks for jumping on. We're talking about acknowledge and ask, and I'm recording this so you can go back and see the beginning of it too.
Thank you.
Amber or Holly, do you guys have any scenario you want to kind of role play, acknowledge and ask? We've got just a few minutes left.
Not off the top of my head.
I just think I need to get a little more thorough and like you said, acknowledge back and engage with them a little more to find out exactly what they're looking for, and then the follow up. When you're bombarded with so many leads, and sometimes it's tough to really get in there and provide everything that everyone is asking for. You know what I mean? So.
It is. And a couple of things to try and make it easier is, don't feel like you have to get all of LP Mammal answered on the first call, right? If you know somebody's not ready, there's no reason to get all those questions answered on the first call, because then what are you going to ask them in the 3 months of follow-up, right? You're just going to say, hey, you seen anything you like yet? So, it's okay to space that out. Also, people can tell people can tell when you're trying to get through a list of questions. So be very careful about being too formulaic and try and force your way through those questions. Let the questions come naturally as part of the conversation. And that's the point of acknowledge and ask. So you can, give back to them, show that you're actively listening, which is hugely important. People can also tell if you're listening to ask another question or if you're listening to understand. Make sure that you're listening to understand. Try not to be thinking about what you're going to say next while somebody is still talking. Because if you're doing that, you're not actively listening to them. So the purpose of the acknowledge and ask can be to give you the opportunity to think about the next question you want to ask while you're acknowledging what they've given you.
And okay, with new construction,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know many of the builders around here besides like Atlantic Construction. Are there brochures you guys have at the office, or is there?
No, there's not. Just ask the team who's interacted with a particular company and kind of sidebar from there. And if no one has, reach out to whoever their representative is, whether it's another agent or if it's an on-site rep, or if they have their own in-house people.
Okay.
I also have recently, because of clients, but also just in general. It's good to kind of just sign up on a lot of new construction websites so that you're getting emails about new communities, just so you kind of have some resources to pull from when you've got someone looking at new construction. Because I've also kind of been struggling with that because it's this whole other ball game, and half the builders don't even put them on MLS, so you just kind of have to find out about them
On your
the
own.
same way the clients do by driving around.
That's an excellent point, Meredith, to be signed up on their notification emails so you know when they're opening new communities or new phases or new plans are coming, or if they build specs or anything like that. That's great advice. Because to your point, a lot of them aren't in MLS and you're never going to even find out that they're options if you aren't on something like that.
Well, and I think that's a good reason. I was about to say this, but new construction is a good example of acknowledging an ask. To me, I use it more to understand their answers. Like, okay, well, you say you want new construction. Why? You know, do you just really like sparkly new things? Or is it because you think you're going to avoid a bidding war? Because I don't know what it is at the coast, but in Raleigh, that's not necessarily true because half the builders are, well, I don't know if it's half, but some builders still do bids. I mean, they're still taking offers. It's still a bidding war.
Yeah, if they'll release a home site and a plan and it's in multiple offers.
So it's not necessarily, well, and I don't know how to say it, but I've told multiple clients like, okay, well, we can go look at this new construction, but it's some wood. I mean, it's barely in framing. And then we get there and they're like, oh, well, I need to see it. And I'm like, well, I told you. I told
Right.
you.
There's nothing
was
there.
nothing to see. I mean,
Right.
I don't know. But so if they absolutely need to see it, they're either going to limit the builders that have mobile homes, model homes, or they just got to use their imagination.
You're exactly right.
But a lot of the knowledge and ask is understanding their questions, kind of like what Doug was saying, like, well, tell me what you mean by bigger, or tell me what you mean by new. Because some people, when they say they want a new home, they mean 5 years or 10 years old, or some mean.
That's a great question. That's a great point, Meredith.
No one has.
Not assuming
Sometimes
we
they
know
mean
what
no
you
one's
mean.
lived in it.
Right. Because I need a big lot. Well, somebody who lives in New York now, a big lot might be 1/4 of an acre. Somebody who lives in Georgia, a big lot might be 2 acres, right? So don't assume what we know when people mean when they give us kind of general criteria like that, right? That's another great point. So you say you want a big lot. What's big mean to you? Is that an acre? Is it 10 acres? Is it a half an acre? And then that gives you a chance to, be funny and lighten the mood the way you ask it, right? To connect with them a little bit better. And that's what the point of all of this is to build a relationship, to help them understand you're not a salesman, but you're a person that really wants to help them. Use it as an opportunity to, tell them things about yourself too. Like the example you used earlier, who else is in your home? You mentioned us. Right? You say, oh, my husband and 2 kids. Oh, I've got 2 kids. How old are yours? Something like that. Oh, I've got 3 kids. Oh, my kid is older. I miss those days. Something like that. Anything like that. Those are the type, it's about, really trying to have a conversation with folks and not being too formulaic, even though in the back of our mind, we always have the formula because we need the answers to those questions, right? It's about your approach.
Well, and I would argue that if they're in that I'm just looking, not ready stage, it's almost better to just humanize yourself and form a relationship versus anything else.
Yeah.
So they
Right.
remember
Just
you.
show them you're a person. I love that, Meredith. That's a great way to sum up that piece of when you've got a client at that part. All right. It's 10:24 and I'm sure you guys have things to do. I hope this was helpful and I appreciate you guys jumping on and doing some role playing. This is always evolving. We can all always continue to listen to other people and how they script and call, which is why I think it's very important to be in the office from time to time around other people while you're doing it, so they can give you some feedback on what they're hearing you say. And so you can do the same for them and maybe glean some good ideas or some ways to script. And, you know, it's always good to try and just do a self-assessment. And that's why, you know, I'll also talk about too, make sure that you're calling with intent. You know, make sure that you've reviewed the lead before you call it, so you see what they're looking at, where they're looking, so you can have a conversation based on that, to try and, you know, form that connection a little bit sooner or easier. Okie dokie. I hope it's helpful. You guys have a great day. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Thank you, you too.
All right.
Okay.